Chris Burke, Operations Manager from IRT, who transports all the Australian team horses to London? Or?
Pretty much. There'll be some that are already obviously based there and possibly some out of the US, but certainly the Australian-based horses will be doing all them and also the para teams. But yeah, this Olympics will be our 11th Olympics that we've moved the Australian team over. So, yeah.
11 Olympics. So they flew them. Has the technology changed from flying them, what's 11 times 4, 44 years ago to now?
Probably not as much as you think. The aircraft themselves have become a little more advanced in the controlling of the air inside the aircraft and temperature and things like that.
It's all air pressurised and like as cold as it is. So I get on a plane and I'm like, oh, it's so cold.
Yeah, well, if you imagine walking onto one of the planes that you fly on and looking down the whole plane, instead of seeing seats, you see a floor with the roller beds on it. And that's what the actual plane is, a shell that's like that the air stable gets locked into, and the horses travel in that air stable. And the technology of that hasn't changed a great deal for many years because we're restricted by how the normal cargo is locked into the plane into how we can put the horses on the plane.
And Chris, how many, what's a full flight?
A full flight used to be around about 113 horses. On the 747, but now with the way the air stables are, it's down to 87 is a full flight. So it's.
And you obviously have, is it one staff to a horse or one staff to 5 horses?
Look, typically we are restricted by the amount of seats that the aircraft does have. So for example, with the 747, the bubble that you often see as a business class seat or whether that's where they've got seats for the grooms to travel, and you can get up to 12 in some of the aircraft and that. But today's technology where the aircraft are trying to get them lighter and lighter so they can carry more cargo through the rest of the year. That's been restricted. So on average we can get 5 seats on a plane.
Is that all?
Yeah, but if we're doing a larger shipment like the charter we mentioned, we try to get what's called a seat pellet, which is at the back of the aircraft, a separate seat just for the staff. But today with scheduled service planes sort of departing every week to different parts of the world, the requirement for a charter is not as common as it was when there wasn't those services and we had to compile a large number of horses to get the cost under control to fly them around.
And Chris, can I ask, what is, do you have a plane going out to London every week? Sort of, what's the frequency in terms of, or to Singapore? What's the frequency of the flights and what's your highest route?
Yeah, good question. Look, we have a horse in the air every minute of the day. So
I've seen that in there.
Extraordinary. It's quite extraordinary when you think of it that way. But typically, a flight to London, for example, would probably have one a month. A flight to Singapore is determined by the quarantine availability in Singapore, and that's typically every month also. Our most commonly flown route would be the Trans-Tasman. We can have 4 to 5 flights a week, sometimes even more across the Tasman, and that's every breed of horse you can imagine travelling on that. And then, Hong Kong Jockey Club, Dubai with Endurance Arabs is a very big business for us now.
So what is your largest, freight horse? Is it the thoroughbred? Is it the dressage person?
Yeah, look, when I started 16 years ago, we were probably 70% thoroughbred traffic, and of that, it's actually not extensively racehorses. A lot of it's breeding stock that travel around. So
the shuttle for the stallions.
Shuttle stallions and also mares that come out.
I have heard a story that one particular stallion has his own jumbo. No, is that total hokey pokey that I've been fed?
No, there are occasions when one horse will travel on a plane to itself.
That is extraordinary.
But typically what some of the stallions will have is the whole air stable to themselves. So what we'd use for 3 horses, they will travel in alone. But it's mainly 2 stallions per pallet, depending on the behaviour of that individual horse. But yeah, so you have that. But now and today, we'd probably be 50% thoroughbreds, and then the balance would be other breeds, such as obviously the sport horses, such as Equestrian, but also standardbred horses.
Standardbred?
Yeah,
wow.
The horses, a lot to them to USA. Endurance Arabs to go literally to obviously the Middle East, but also other events such as WEG in Kentucky and also to London. And then we would also have gypsy cobs, miniature donkeys. Most of the breeds that are a unique breed to Australia have probably come in with us at some time over the last 40 years. So.
I'm sorry I'm hogging you, but I just find the whole process fascinating.
Yeah.
So if I deliver my horse and I want to take him to Singapore, I obviously drop him off. Do you tranquilise him do you mind to sort of going through the process of when I drop him off.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look,
Picking him up.
Let's use as an example the horses going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
So the first thing we need to look at is what health requirements to get you there. So what vaccinations you need, what blood tests you
Do you
need.
need a passport?
He does, yes. For the FEI events, you'll need a passport. See, but I don't actually need you to fly to have that.
Oh, that's controversial.
So it's very important for us to find the balance between what we physically need you to meet the import requirements of that country and what you need so you can still compete in your event when you get there.
Yeah.
So we will go through those things with you. If a quarantine is required, we organise that. We organise the blood testing. We obviously have to advise Aquis that this horse is travelling and they must certify the export of that horse. We arrange staff to travel with them. In terms of the actual loading at the airport and the travel with that and sedation, probably 5% of the horses we move we sedate. It's not a great deal of horses. I mean, you're dealing with a very intelligent animal, and and as a result of that, generally they're very well behaved. You know, there are occasions when probably in the second half of the flight where they might have been sick of standing in the air stable for 18 hours.
Do they sit down, or is it
they're
like a
standing up the whole
float?
time. Yeah, very similar to a float. Imagine a space in the float is very
You know what
similar.
I have to ask one
where-
day? Can I come and can we film the inside of a plane one day?
We used to be able to sort of do that, but obviously since all the terrorism and those sorts of things, it's
of
very
course.
restrictive in terms of airport access now, and even staff on the planes is getting a lot harder because, of course, we've got sedation on the planes, and the crews and that have to get certified, obviously, to allow that. So a lot of the airlines, the captain actually holds the sedation kit, and if it's required, they have to get that approval from him to give it. So yeah, it's a very niche sort of industry to be involved in. It's always fascinating to talk to people about it because it is really interesting from the
Everyone
one.
is fascinated. Well, I am personally so fascinated by the air freight of horses, and I love how you do the halters, the blue halters for the horses that come on IRT. And I also love that you've got a tie, but I'm very concerned that it's not blue.
No, I do have a blue one as well, but with
good,
this
okay.
with the grey suit, I thought this one would go better.
Well, Chris, thank you for letting me hog you for so long. I just find that whole process just so fascinating, and you're playing a very special role in delivering very special four-legged friends to the London Olympics. So take good care of them, please.
No, I certainly will. Look, it's a great pleasure to be involved in this industry. It's a wonderful wonderful sport, wonderful participation sport, and certainly great to be involved in.
Have a wonderful night. Thanks again, Chris. Bye.